Hey everyone, I'm Jonathan Rabb, the founder of YardCon, and today we've got an exciting exclusive YardCon opportunity for HBCU students to interview NBA superstar Chris Paul. Chris, how you doing today?
I'm all right, John. How about you?
I'm doing great, and this is like really exciting. You ready for the interview?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Next up, we have Robert Tucker. He's an Omega from FAMU who's studying broadcast journalism. Robert is going to ask you questions about the theme of perseverance. So, Robert, take it away.
What up? What up, Robert?
What's going on,
I'm on here
CP3? How you
barking. What's going on
doing? No, I'm not gonna do that today, man. I'm not gonna do it today. How you doing?
I'm well, man.
That's good. That's good. I just have a few questions for you, man. I just know a lot of times within life, we face trials and error, especially as college students. So how you feel like college students can develop resilience and persevere through challenges and setbacks?
Yeah, man. Shoot, I had mine. I had mine in high school, and then even in college. My freshman year, my grades were pretty good, but it was different. When you get to college, for me, it was the first time I didn't have a curfew. You know what I mean? So it's one of
Absolutely.
those things where now you're on your own. You like, man, I'm free. I'm free. I got all this freedom, but you still got to have that discipline and lock in. You know what I mean? Ain't nobody saying don't enjoy yourself. You know what I mean? Go out, do what you got to do. But college was one of the first times I really started to feel somewhat like an adult. You know what I mean? Because you got to manage your money as far as eating, what you're going to eat. You got to manage your time. And that's the biggest thing that I would tell people is to learn how to manage your time, right? Because you got class, you got this, you got that. Something popping off you. It's hard to go to sleep when you're in college. You know
So
what I
true.
mean? But regardless, whatever it is, man, just always understand that you can bounce back. You can bounce back.
That is so true. So that leads up to my next question. So what advice do you feel like you can give someone who is having struggles of staying motivated and focused on their academic pursuits?
Yeah, man, motivation. I think the biggest advice I would give to somebody is to try to figure out their why, right? And I know that probably sounds generic or like simple or whatnot, but when you can figure out your why, it sort of gives you purpose. And you also got to understand that can change, right? That can change. Like when I was in high school, I just wanted a full scholarship. I wanted to go play college basketball and I wanted a full scholarship. And the why was because I knew my parents couldn't afford it, right? So my why was like, I want to go to college, but I want to make sure my parents don't have to pay for it. Then I got into college and started working and working and getting better. And it was like, man, my why, I want to get to the NBA, And then it's constantly changed over my career, right? Then when I got married, then I had a why because I wanted to have a long career. Then I had kids. Then that's when my motivation really started changing because it's like, man, I'm providing for me and my family. And then as my kids got older, it was like, I don't want them to think their daddy's sorry. You know what I mean? So that was motivation enough too. You know what I mean? I want my son to at least be able, and my daughter to walk around and at least be like, dang, my daddy can hoop. And so it's constantly changing. And so when you can figure out what your why is, right? And then you can do little checkpoints because it's crazy. We all sort of work better when we got deadlines or when we got little marks that we want to achieve. You know what I mean? So
True.
setting goals, I think, always helps too.
Okay, so when it comes to goals, we usually learn that there's a lot of setbacks, but lessons. So what lessons have you learned from dealing with setbacks when it comes to failures in your own, on the court and off the court, when it comes to academically as well?
Yeah. I mean, all types of them. I mean, one of the first setbacks was my grandfather being murdered when I was 17. And that was tough. I lost my grandmother when I was 7 to lung cancer. But then at 17, when my grandfather was murdered by 7 teenagers, that's not something you ever expect. And especially that was the day after I signed my letter of intent to go to Wake Forest. And so I was together with my granddad that night. The very next day he got murdered. Right. So I could have, been mad as I was and been like, man, I ain't gonna hoop no more. Whatever, I ain't gonna do this. Right. But once again, perseverance. So it's always gonna be setbacks. But one thing that I've always tried to do over my entire career is to not let them setbacks define me. Right. from injuries that I had. I got injured in the game that if I don't get hurt, I think we go to the finals and win when I played in Houston. I got hurt, right? It's one of the toughest things I've been through. But that injury, had that not happened, I don't think I'm still playing in the league now. So through all the different heartaches and heartbreaks and injuries or whatnot, I tend to learn from them and try to get better from it.
So with all these trials in your life, how do you maintain like a positive attitude and outlook, even when facing with adversity?
Well,
And
just
how has it
thinking about,
helped you in your career as well?
yeah, you know what? How do I do it? By knowing how blessed I am, like better than blessed. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so many people out here that's got real issues that's going on. And like I say, my family, we got our ups and our downs and things that we trying to overcome or whatnot. But listen, I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I got 2 beautiful kids, an amazing wife. I get a chance to play basketball every day and say that's my way of life. Right? Right?
Yes, sir.
That's wild. That's wild. I've been hooping since I was 5 years old. I'll be 38 in a couple weeks. So realizing how truly blessed I am to be able to do what I do. So I get mad just like anybody at times, you know, but sometimes I have to put it into perspective and just sit back and think about how blessed I am.
Speaking of perspective, we know that you are a founder and you have invested in many companies. So how do you go about determining, which opportunities make the most sense of you? How hands-on do you like to be? And which brand or product has been most rewarding for you?
It's funny because it changes. It's changed over my career. When I was younger, it was just a bunch of sort of brand endorsement deals. But as I've gotten older, I've definitely invested in things culturally, HBCUs and all that stuff, but also things in the health and wellness space. I'm always trying to figure out how I can be healthier, how my family can be healthier. Because at the end of the day, right, you can have all the money, all this different type stuff, but the one thing you can't put a price on is health, right? So trying to make sure that my family understands that, making sure that I want my parents to be here as long as physically possible, right? And everybody around me. So I'm always listening and trying to do research and find out different ways to be better in that aspect. Some of the partnerships or investments that have really worked out pretty well for me. One of them would probably be Beyond Meat. Beyond Meat was a cool investment with the founder, Ethan Brown. And that was something that came across back when I played in Houston, and something that's been really cool to learn about. That's how I ended up going plant-based.
Wow. So this leads into my last question. You mentioned that you look into a health and a wellness resource. So I understand that you're an advocate for mental health awareness and resources, and you have been very open about your personal experience when it comes to stress, anxiety, and so much more. So why has this been so important to you? And what advice do you have for someone who is struggling with their mental health right now, but are either afraid to seek resources or don't know how to?
Man, that's a great question right there. And I think I'm such an advocate for it because I'm just like anybody else who kind of thought it was stupid, right? Like as a black man, you almost taught not to say nothing, be strong. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. When something hurt or something happened, you get hit in the chest, be like, what you crying for? You're not supposed to really feel much emotion. And then I started to think about how tough life is at times. And then I started thinking about the social media aspect of it. And I think I speak up on it so much now too, because I am a parent. I have kids. I have a 13-year-old son and a 10-year-old daughter. And it's crazy. It's a different world out there now. And so my advice to people who have a hard time with mental health or whatnot is, first and foremost, hopefully you're good with your family, but if you can, get your family around you and people who care about you the most. Excuse me. And I think one of the biggest things would be limit your social media time. Limit your social media time and just really be present. Be present in what's real and what's going on. You know what I mean? Because I don't believe kids can handle social media, right? the fact that adults can't handle it, you definitely know kids can't handle it. You know what I mean? So just moderate that, man, because a lot of times what you're seeing and what you're thinking about or whatnot becomes your real thoughts.
Well, those are all of my questions, man. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me. It really means a lot.
Man, no problem. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Robert. Those were amazing questions. I actually have a question for you, Chris. Like, do you read the comments under your posts personally, or are you one of those people that's just like, no way?
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah.
You know, and I watch movies and stuff like that, and went through some stuff with me and my wife went through some stuff with my kids as far as they have a phone, right? And I don't know how old you are, Jonathan, or whatnot,
Yeah.
but like when we were kids, we didn't have phones like that all the time. Right? So I always use this analogy when we were growing up. Like if you liked a girl and she didn't like you back, you dealt with it at school and you didn't have to deal with it until you got to school the next day.
100%.
Now these kids, right, because they're group chats. There's group chats with all 30 kids that's in the class or whatnot. So our kids now are dealing with things all day, right? And so when you get home from school, you know, you ask your kid how was school, what they gonna say? They're gonna say it was cool.
Yeah.
They're gonna say it was good. But then you look in their phone and you see that they're so stressed out dealing with all this different type stuff. You know, this girl might have told them they were short. This what, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's a lot, man, and I think it's really hard for these kids to have to deal with.
Yeah, it seems to get worse and worse. So thank you for touching on that. Now, Chris, I thank you for jumping on this call, talking to us. Like, you are truly an HBCU advocate. We see the work you're doing. I know you have a busy schedule. Thank you so much for spending time.
Man, I appreciate you, Jonathan. Thank y'all. Really appreciate y'all.
Yeah, so on behalf of YardCon, on behalf of Advertising Week, and on behalf of Watch the Yard, we just want to thank you so much. Thanks for coming through.
No problem. Appreciate y'all.